Hello, my name is Seth Rodriguez, and today I'm going to be discussing a very important concept that we discussed during this course, which is the concept of density. Now, when we think of density, what comes to mind is usually weight and thickness, right? And this is partially true. So in chemistry, density is measured by mass over volume, and this is true for any material. Every material has its own density. And I thought, what better way to explain this through an experiment? For this experiment, you're going to need three things: a container, water, and oil. These are things that you can find around the house. This is really easy to showcase. In this experiment, we're going to be comparing the densities of oil and water and seeing what happens when we put them in one container. So for this experiment, it doesn't really matter how much water you put in, as long as you put in a little bit. See, it's visible. Now, what I'm expecting to happen is for the liquids to mix, right? Because that's usually what happens. That's what we would think would happen. However, we see that when we pour oil in, it separates, right? No matter how much I mix it, the oil will always go to the top. Why is this? This is because oil has a lower density than water. Water is more dense, therefore its weight is higher and it sinks to the bottom, which is why we see the two separate. We clearly see the water is at the bottom because it has a higher density, and the oil is less dense, so it stays at the top and it looks like it's floating. Cool, right? Because it's an easy experiment we could do here at home that compares densities between two materials. However, what if one material can have two separate densities? How is this possible? How can we make this happen? For this next experiment, you're going to need water, somewhere to heat water, two containers, preferably mason jars. If not, that's okay. And food coloring of any kind. In this case, mine's more of a paste, so I have to apply it with a toothpick. So we're going to start off by taking our water and pouring half of our water inside this container for it to heat. That's right, half. Now we're going to set this to heat, and we're going to take the remaining water and leave it to cool in the fridge. After about 10 minutes of heating and cooling, you're going to bring your waters back, and now we're going to put them into the containers. We're going to start with cold water. Now, when you're filling your containers, you want to make sure you fill it to the very top, to the brim. And we're going to put it back inside our container. So cold water is to the right. And we're going to open up our hot water. Fill it to the very top. Be careful because it is hot. Awesome. Now we have hot and cold water. Now, because they're both water, it's kind of hard to see which is which, so this is what the food coloring is for. So with a toothpick or with a squirt, whatever you guys have, you're going to apply food coloring to the hot water just so we could distinguish the two. So hot water, in this case, is going to be blue. And you can take a toothpick to mix this up a little bit more. Now we can clearly see that the hot water is blue and the cold water is clear. I mentioned this when I was listing the materials, but another important item we're going to need for this project is preferably a credit card or a debit card, but any thin piece of plastic can work. So I'm going to take my credit card and place it over my hot water like a lid. Now we take our hot water and make sure to keep that pressed on really tight so that no water leaks out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to flip it, so now it's upside down. And we're going to try to line up the two so that they're on top of each other. Now, when the two are lined up, we're going to very carefully take out the card and have the two be right on top of each other, just like that. Now, what are we seeing happening? Pretty much nothing, right? The blue stays up top and the clear stays on the bottom. Why is that? So after putting the hot water on top of the cold water, we saw that nothing really happened. But what if we were to reverse this process? What if we were to put the cold water on top of the hot water? Then what would happen? Let's find out. So we're going to take our credit card again, place it over your cold water this time, and make sure to keep it really tight so that no water leaks out, and flip, and then place it over, carefully over your hot water. Then after you place it, then you're ready to slowly pull it out, and what do we see? The hot water rises to the top because it is less dense. Why is that? How are we able to make water less dense than water? This is because of heat. When we apply heat to water, in this case over a flame, we excite the molecules, we get them moving around and spreading out, and therefore it makes the hot water less dense than the cold water. When we cool the water, it gets more compact and more dense. That's why it sinks to the bottom. Thank you.